In the midst of this impeachment business, and with 2020 right around the corner, I've decided to shoot a video just talking about what's important to me as a voter. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and the title of this video is Thoughts on Trump's Impeachment and What Matters to Me Most as a Voter. First of all, before I start, please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. So what prompted this video? The whole impeachment thing is going on right now, and I don't want to make another video about impeachment or the impeachment, at least not. I think I might have missed YouTube's algorithm a couple of days ago when the House, did what it did and it had its vote. But I wanted to, probably going back a month, I wanted to make a video just on what matters to me as a voter. And this is going to be highly relevant for next year in 2020. And this is a multi-layered discussion, one which I will probably revisit multiple times from different angles in 2020. So I'm just going to use the impeachment as a jumping off point. So the idea for this actually came about a month ago when someone on Facebook, which I believe is my Facebook network, is very much a liberal group, and someone posted something about President Trump. There might have been a video, and this woman expressed her disappointment in who he is and who he's being portrayed to be, and in the media, and she expressed disappointment in his character, and she wanted him impeached, and she wanted him thrown out of office, and those kinds of things. And it dawned on me, well, actually I knew this for a while, but I realized that for some people, the president dictates how they feel every day. And the president, they need the president to make them feel good. And they need the president to give them a sense of calm. And they need the president to, who the president is very much affects some people's lives every day down on the ground level, depending upon what they're seeing on the news. So there are a lot of people who are disappointed with what they're seeing in the White House and the negative coverage, and it's really impacting their sense of morality and their sense of well-being and those kinds of things. So how the president feels and whether or not people like the president very much affects their lives. That's what I'm trying to say. So going deeper into this video, so this video will probably fit into my principles of critical thought, and it'll touch upon two key areas, which are current events and financial literacy. So before I jump in, I wasn't even supposed to make a video today. I was supposed to be on the road going back home to Western New York, but I'm a man with many responsibilities, and there was a fire to put out yesterday for one of the committees that I'm involved in my spare time, and I didn't get to pack yesterday, so I've been taking today as a slow day to get ready to go, and I had some spare time, and I said, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and shoot a video. I was thinking about going to see the new Star Wars movie, but based upon some of the reviews I've seen on YouTube, I'm not going to see it tonight. Maybe sometime over the holiday. Anyway, back to this video. So, I've been interested in presidential politics starting from a young age. I think it started in grade school at the Campus West College Learning Laboratory on the campus of Buffalo State College in Buffalo, New York. That's Buff State for short, for those of you from Western New York. Might have been the 4th grade or the 5th grade, but I think it was definitely prior to middle school. We had a project where we each had to write a report on each of the presidents, and I somehow drew Zachary Taylor. And off the top of my head right now, I can't tell you a lot about Zachary Taylor other than that was the president who I had to work on. But in any case, since then, I've always been somewhat interested in presidential politics and the structure of the government and the 3 wings of the government and the electoral college and those kinds of things. So watching this impeachment business and people's reactions to it, people are reacting in a very, very visceral way to the president, and many people want him out. And one of my favorite YouTube content creators a couple of days ago was going to record a video on something, and then once he realized what the House voted on, he decided to make his whole live stream just on the impeachment. And one of the things I want to start off by saying is that when we're looking at all this stuff, these people are playing the power game. And I'm going to invoke the 48 laws of power once again. And the YouTube content creator I just told you about, he started off with this as well. And the basic premise of his discussion was that there's a lot to these things that people just don't understand. So many of the politicians and just many people in the world in general are playing the power game. And so after watching that video, I took this book to work with me the next day, and I took a coffee break at Starbucks, and I actually read the intro to this book. This is a good book. It's not easy to read all the way through like a novel, but there are a lot of gems and nuggets in here. But if you read the introduction, the author, Robert Greene, starts off by saying that this is not a moral world, and those who believe it's a moral world are fooling themselves. The other thing is that he states that everyone is playing the power game. Everyone's trying to one-up the other. So when there's virtue signaling, when there's pandering to a group, that's a form of playing power. When President Trump says we're going to make America great again, that's a form of playing power. All of these passive-aggressive games that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the president are playing against one another, these are all forms of playing power in ways of swaying public perception. And so just remember that every time Nancy Pelosi or whomever steps in front of the microphone, they're trying to impact public perception and public opinion, and everyone's playing power. Everyone's trying to manipulate the masses, and everyone's trying to one-up the other person or take down the other person. But for the sake of this video, while all of those dynamics are going on and all the speeches are being made and the press conferences, it's hard for me to keep up with everything. I have a day job, I have a blog, I have a YouTube channel, I'm working on a book. It's hard for me to keep up with everything. I think the underlying question most Americans should ask is, what is the person's policies? What's their agenda? What are they going to do once they get into office? And I'm going to make the argument in this video that many Americans don't ask those questions. They don't even really care what the person's policies and agendas are. And in some instances, the things they do care about are influenced by class warfare and fear tactics. But what's important to me as a voter, and I've been thinking about this as I've been watching all of this unfold, President Trump's tenure in office, the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, the Baltimore controversies, now the impeachment, all of it. The election in 2016. What matters to me as a voter, despite all of this noise that's going on? And for me, it basically comes down to three things. I want whoever gets elected president, and I guess for that matter, who was ever in the Congress, I want them to keep my taxes reasonable. I'm not saying I want to pay no taxes. Well, obviously, who wants to pay taxes? But taxes are for a purpose if they are used for the right reasons. The roads have to be paved. We need our military. The government has to be funded to perform its tasks. So there is an amount that is needed. The question is, how much is too much? And what you want to do as a elected official, well, unless you're talking about AOC and maybe Bernie, is you want to create an environment that's favorable for businesses. And that's a whole separate discussion all in itself. So as a person living on Main Street, I don't want to be overtaxed, and I want, as someone who's has a retirement account going, as someone who wants to invest in the stock market at some point, from a discretionary standpoint, I don't want our businesses overtaxed. I want our economy to thrive, and I want our country to be a favorable environment for business and innovation here, as opposed to having those companies overseas somewhere employing people in other countries. So I want taxes to be reasonable. So that kind of blends into the economy. And in terms of the economy, me and my mentor, we've talked about this, and he has a business training. There are multiple schools of thought here, but one school of thought which I've started to adopt is that the economy runs on its own, and the economy has its own cycles, which naturally run on their own. The government can impact those, and they can interfere with those, but those cycles run on their own independent of the government. So, for me, I want politicians in there, the president and a Congress, who are going to once again make conditions favorable for businesses here. Should businesses pay taxes? Yes, they should. Should they be taxed to death to the point where they can't employ people here and generate revenues here in the United States? No. They should not be taxed to that point. So just as with personal taxes and for business taxes, there's a healthy balance in there. So for personal taxes and for business taxes, there's a healthy balance in there somewhere for the government and for those business enterprises. So I want politicians in there at the controls who understand business and who want to keep businesses here in the United States. Safety is an important aspect to me, whether it's national security, whether it's local safety on the municipal level. Safety is important to me, and so that involves having a strong military if necessary, and it also involves, well, I hate to say it, but border security. I do believe that there needs to be some control over who comes into the country, and there needs to be some understanding of what people who aren't from here are going to be doing here if and when they come. So safety is important to me. And also, if you go back to my military video from Veterans Day, the military impacts the strength of the American dollar around the world, and it impacts its standing as the world reserve currency. So that's my holy trinity: taxes, the economy, and safety and defense. Let's see. So I do believe, before I go to the ending, I do believe that there are people in the country who can't take care of themselves and who need care and who need social programs. And so I do believe that we should take care of the people who can't take care of themselves. But I also think that there are people, if given the opportunity, will leech off the system and live off the system. So I think we need to protect against that in some way, shape, or form. The other thing before I move on, which the content creator I told you about touched upon with the caller, is that wherever you fall in the income spectrum and wherever you fall in terms of social class, that's going to impact who you vote for. So if you've built some stuff, if you've built a business, if you've put in long hours for your education, and you've created a lifestyle for yourself, and if you're creating wealth, you're going to feel much differently than a person who hasn't, and who's kind of in the lower tiers, whether it's their own doing or whether it's through life circumstance. So depending on where you are, that's gonna dictate how you feel about who should be elected and what they should be doing. The people in this lower rung, again, whether or not they're there by their own choices or by life circumstance, yeah, they're gonna be more likely to say, okay, you should take money from the people at the top and give it to us and spread it out. And the people who have built businesses and started accumulating wealth, and some from the ground, some from scratch, some from the ground level, they're going to be more likely to say, well, no, I built this myself. Why should I have to give what I've earned to everyone else in unfair amounts? So those are things that are going to come up in the election, and these arguments have been here for a while. So I'm going to close with a couple things. So the concept of likability. And I realized back in 2020 when Al Gore was running against Bush 43, I believe it was Bush 43, George W. Bush. One of the things that comes up during elections is likability. And you see this during the debates, you see this during the debate analysis, and I think the candidates probably have people in their camps who are coaching them on how to be likable. So, this is where you have, Hillary Clinton pulling out her hot sauce on the Breakfast Club, and this is where you have her doing the wobble with Roland Martin. This is where you have Kamala Harris listening to Cardi B. This is where you have Bernie Sanders shooting videos with Cardi B, asking her what she thinks. This is all to make them likable to certain demographics of people. So, there are whole segments of the United States, of the population, who don't care anything about the issues and just care about whether or not they like the candidate. And I think many of the candidates bank on their likability getting them votes versus having to discuss what they're doing for certain populations and what they're actually going to do for the people. So watch out for that one. Again, everyone's playing the power game and the perception game, and the likability piece is a part of that. Again, many people need the president to help them feel better. That's important, I think, after some sort of catastrophe or disaster, such as 9/11. I think presidents need to be able to soothe the masses when something like that happens. But the current president, number 45, President Trump, he doesn't make certain segments of the population feel better the way that a Bill Clinton did or the way that a Barack Obama did. But as I said, a president can make you feel good while, in terms of policy, doing things that could actually be hurting you. And I think people need to pay attention to the actual policies and what the president, his cabinet, and what the Congress are doing, as opposed to whether or not they're making you feel better with their words, and whether or not they play the saxophone, or whether or not they sing Al Green songs. I don't need the president to make me feel better. I need him to address the three things that I described earlier. And there are people who are voting on color and ethnicity. During the Obama years, that was a big deal. President Obama got an unconditional voting base from the black community because he was our first black president. Now in the aftermath, there are questions about what he actually did for black people, but a lot of people are voting on color and race, and I probably won't do that going forward or anymore. I did vote for Obama twice. Since then I've gone through my own personal changes in terms of how I see these things and how I perceive these things, but I know that, but suffice it to say, quite a few people are voting just on race and the skin color of the candidate, and whether the person's white or black or purple or yellow. I don't think that's the wise way to go. So those are my thoughts going forward. It's a vast subject, which you should vote on and what should be important to you, and it's gonna vary based upon the person and the person's background and circumstances. I plan to revisit this more going forward, especially once we cross over into the year 2020. Once the Democrats choose their candidate, then you're really gonna see this thing unfold. In any case, I'm gonna stop there. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I'm gonna leave many of my politics and current events related videos in the comments in the description box below, and I'm gonna make a playlist just on current events and politics for my channel. I'm also gonna leave my blog post on the 2017 Tax Reform and Jobs Act in the description box below as well. In any case, please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. And always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.